Hi everybody, it's Diana with Stamping with Di. Welcome to my YouTube channel and this week's Mimeograph Monday with a twist. And even though it's hotter than blazes here, we're going to do a Christmas card. Maybe it'll make us feel cooler. And I'm going to use the new Santa's hat that is in the upcoming September catalog. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Diana, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm in Santan Valley, Arizona. So welcome. So during the video premiere, I'm in the chat room. Now I'm going to say that as I am taping this, letting you know that there could be a possibility that I'm not in the chat room. So if I'm not there, please talk amongst yourselves. I love all the friendships that are growing there. I have an appointment in the morning with an, what I call it, endodontist, to look at a root canal that needs to be redone or replaced or whatever. And when I made my appointment, they were like, at the time that I made my appointment, for just to let him, like, he's just going to look at it and see what needs to be done about it, if they can just redo it or if they'll have to pull the tooth and do an implant, heaven forbid. But when I made my appointment, he was saying, you know, he might be able to fit me in that day and actually do the tooth. If that is the case, then I probably won't be in the chat room. So I'm just kind of like throwing that out there because I don't really know till I'm at the dentist. So anyways, so let's get started. I am going to do two projects, and these both turned out really cute. But I always like to see your comments like, oh, I like whichever one better. I never try to do better. I just do more my taste. But anyways, all right. So close your eyes for a second while I get my camera adjusted. Okay, so here is the cute little Santa's hat. And it is so fun. So that's what I'm going to play with today. All right. Now I'm going to be, so this is the first card will be my take on the one that Stampin' Up made in the catalog. So I have, for my card base, is just a basic white thick. Okay. And then we need to stamp so this is just a piece of basic white regular. And I need my memento pad because we are going to be using the blend. So I'm going to use the memento. And we have this cute hat. So I'm just going to stamp some hats around on the card. So I'm going to do my big hats first. And then I can fit in the edges with pieces of hats. So if you were going to make these for Christmas, I would actually do like a whole 8.5 by 10 or whatever the size paper the paper is, 8.5 by 11. I would do the whole sheet and then trim it down, because then you're not wasting, you know, this ink here. You could do like a whole sheet and then trim it. Okay, so there's all our cute little hats. Because see, all this ink here could have been on a whole sheet of basic white. And then you just trim. And then you want to just make sure, if you do that, that you stamp them really close together. Like if you were doing a whole sheet, you would want to stamp them really, really close together. You know, because then you're going to trim. And then you could still, you know, if you're missing a space or some of that, you could still you know, go in there and add a little piece or something. All right. Then let me stamp my little greeting. And I'm going to use Old Olive. And this way that can be drying. So I'm just going to use the Old Olive. And the greeting is Sending Christmas Cheer. And Old Olive, actually I'm using a couple different colors today, but Old Olive and then the color I'm going to use later. I swear I have to ink them up every time I use them. I can hardly wait till we get all of the colors turned into the magnetic pad. I cannot wait. All right, so we have that. So that should give our hats time to dry. Now, I don't know exactly what, you know, Stampin' Up! Used. I'm just kind of going how I think it was because they haven't posted the recipes yet. Let me close this. So I'm just kind of guessing. So I guessed Real Red and Old Olive. All right. And I couldn't see any color on the pom-pom or the edge of the hat. So I'm just doing it like I see it. All right. So let's see here. I want my dark red. Okay. And we're going to do this one red too. So I'm going to put quite a bit of dark red on the hat and just have a small area that uses the light. Just because that's what it looked like. And then I'm just, you know, kind of moving my card every which way. And I usually use this bullet end to do my coloring. Okay, so I will leave just this much up here for the light. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So this one's going to be red as well. Now this did not have a die. So I think that would have been cool if it had a die, but it's fairly big. Like this is quite a big hat, isn't it? So I think this would be easy enough to cut out. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to color it with most of the dark red, except for the top. And then we'll come in there and add that light red. Just to add a little bit of a bright highlight on the top of the hat. So then I'll just go in with my light and finish that. So it's just a little lighter on the tippy top of the hat. And then I will go into this line here and just kind of soften that up a little bit. And we'll do the same thing over here. Now, Stampin' Up, not that I know of, did not do this, but what is cool is you can go in, if I want to make this red be a little bit darker, I'm just going to take my light pecan pie and I'm going to add a little bit, just kind of in the edges where I want it to be a little bit darker, and it'll kind of like blend into that red. And just give me a little more of a shadow. And you could do this first as well, and then just color over with the dark red. But I'm just adding it now. But see how it just makes a little bit darker around there? So sometimes by adding it now, it kind of lets you notice the difference more than if I did it first, because then it just kind of gets colored in there together. But by doing it now, you can really, you can really see the difference by adding that. All right. And then the rest of the hats will be Old Olive. So I have a little one up here, and I'm going to put that as Old Olive. I had a little bit more of the hat show than on the Stampin' Up one. Okay, so we've got this hat, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, where I'm going to do most of the dark and just a little bit of the light on top. All right, so again, this is Old Olive, so I'm doing the dark first. And then just kind of go around the brim, or whatever that is. No, I guess that's not a brim, but the furry part of the hat. Okay, now I'll go in with the light there, but let's do this one at the same time. This would be fun to do them all different kind of hats. And you could even paper piece this. I think would look adorable. Maybe I'll do that for my dies shorts. I'll keep this out for Friday. And I'll do like a really die short instead of last week's where it was like an hour and something long. And we'll do some paper piecing with this cute hat. I'll have to make myself a note because I'll probably forget. All right. Because tomorrow I'm going to do the Halloween hat. All right. So that was dark Old Olive, and then I'm just going to go in with the light, just like I did with the red. And we'll add this light up on the top. And then we'll just kind of go over into this. Because the light Old Olive is quite different, quite a bit different, I find, than the dark. So I might end up just making it be all dark. Because it's really hard to knock down that line. Because you can really see where I'm trying to knock it down. Just because there's such a difference in these two. And it could just be, my marker needs to be replenished or get a new one or whatever. All right, so let's, because I don't really care. I don't like how that looks. So I'm just going to go back in and we're just going to make our hat be dark old olive. I hear Eric's here. So hopefully he doesn't come in here blabbing. He likes to bring his laundry over and he gets it in the washer and then he will say, "Oh, it's ready." All right, so I'm just going over this a little bit just because I went over that with the light. Because see, it looks like, see that hat? You can see all that texture in there from when I was going back and forth with that light. Because that when you add the light, it will lighten up that dark. So, which it kind of has a really cool texture to it. Almost like a skunk or something. All right, so I'm just going to color this with the dark. Yeah. And if I want to have any dark over here, I can get my, we don't have a, let me see if how these two work. So I have my dark, because we don't have a garden green, but we do have a, oh yeah, look at how cool that is. All right, so I'm going to add light peaceful pine. So kind of like I did that, I added that darker, that pecan or whatever. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now you can kind of see, now I'm making this be a little more fancier than the one from the catalog, but that's all right. All right, so because it's not the same color, I mean it's green, but it's kind of like a blue green. So it's a little more noticeable that I'm adding it, but still looks kind of cool. Peaceful pine is a real pretty green. Here. I'm just going to draw some lines in there for texture, because the hat would have texture to it. All right. So I think I'm done messing around with that part. So let's get our card piece over. Holy moly, look how much I colored. All right, now I'm going to use my glue dots to put this on the card. Then I'll put my greeting on, and this one will be done, and then we can get to my twist. Now, when I was doing the twist, I was like, okay, am I gonna color? Am I gonna, how am I gonna do it? So you will see in 1 second. All right, so here is just that layer. All right, so it looks cute, doesn't it? I'm gonna sneeze, hold on. All right, so we have our Sending Christmas Cheer. And these are just little pieces I have on my desk, but it was the perfect size when I cut the cards down. Like, you know, you get the little edge piece. All right. And then this is just a smaller piece of real red. So I'm just going to trim my edges. And then I'm going to put this on with glue dots. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to leave a tiny little bit hanging out of the bottom like that. And then you cut it at an angle. And then I'm not, if they're not the same angle, I am not going to worry about it. All right. And then this is going to go on here with some dimensionals. And that looks about as much as I did. And again, I added a little more shading and stuff, but still. All right, so this just goes right down the center there. And this is the first card. So this is my take on the one from the catalog. All right, so I'm going to just tidy up a tiny little bit and we'll get to the twist. Okay, for my twist, I added some more colors. I really like that layout, so I didn't change the layout much, but I totally made it more my card. All right, so I have Granny Apple for my card base. That little piece that was red before, I did Lemon Lime Twist. All right, so, and I'm also going to stamp, I'm using Poppy Parade and a Granny Apple Green for my colors. And of course, Memento. All right, so let's do our little Sending Christmas Cheer. And I did wash this since we did green before. So we have Sending Christmas Cheer. I love when I can use these little strips that I always have on my desk. All right. We are going to put our hats. So like before, I'm going to stamp my hats around first. So again, do your big hats. And then we can fill in with the little hats. Okay. And I want to put a hat on the inside. So I'm just kind of having it kind of cattywampus. And I love how they cut out. See how they cut out in the center? I love that because then it helps not get that ink. Because see how there's a little bit of ink that has caught? But because those holes are there, it's helping it not transfer those ink splotches on there. And we used to have to cut that out ourselves. Well, we didn't have to, but a lot of times I did. So that's kind of nice that they do that ahead of time. All right. And then there's a little ho, ho, ho that also is in that set. So I'm going to go ho, ho, ho on the inside as well. All right, so you can tell I have used these up. Let me get a nice clean one. I like these. These are a great size. They almost fit perfect for my what is this? Oh, that didn't help you at all, did it? The foam mat, the foam pad or whatever the heck. All right, so let's bring our hats over. Now, this hat comes with the inside. So instead of me sitting here coloring, I'm actually just going to stamp the inside. So I'm going to do Poppy Parade. And I might have to stand up for that little tiny bit. There we go. Okay. Let's see. I want this one to be red. And look how cool it is. They have like highlights and lowlights. So it looks super, super cool. All right, so let's do this one red. Okay. I'm also going to put the inside one red. Okay. And there's a little bit there. Let me just do that one red too. Okay, now I need to wash this because the next ones are going to be in the Granny Apple. So I'm just washing it off the side there. All right, so let me close my pad. So the next ones will be Granny Apple. Now you could do the whole thing red, which would be really, really cute. But I do like that little bit of green. So we're going to go Granny Apple. Let me just make sure that's good inked before I do it on my card. And see, this is one of those ones I have to ink every time. Even though I just used it. The ink pad, I swear the ink pad eats the ink. It's like gobble, gobble, gobble. All right, so I'm just putting a little bit of ink on there. And then I take a spoon and I just spread it around. Kind of soaks in. And then the ink pad gobbles it up. All right, let me wash the spoon off. So that kind of taught you something maybe you didn't know. Maybe you're brand new and you were like, what do I do when my pad gets low? Well, there you go. I just taught you that. All right, so let's go back to inking up this one here. And we'll do it on our grid sheet again. Much better. Okay, so now these ones will be green. But I love that little bit of texture that the stamp leaves on the hat. So then you have that highlight and low light already done for you. Because I was going to color this. I was going to do a lot more colors. And I thought, well, I'm going to show it with this, right? Because some of you are like, well, I'm not going to stamp and color all my Christmas cards. I don't have time for that. So this, so much quicker. All right. Now I am going to, of course, I am going to put a little bit of color. I should have probably did this first, but that's okay. All right. So I'm just going to take my little light cloud cover and I'm just going to add a little bit here and there on the fluff, the fuzz, whatever that is called, on the fur of the hat and the little bauble. And that's just going to give some color. So I'm not going to color the whole thing in. I'm just adding a little shadow here and there. Oops, and I have, look at me, I've made a mess because I had green on my finger. All right. I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to go with it. All right, so then I'm going to take my little Winkostella and add a little Winkostella. So yeah, so I kind of messed this one up a little bit with that little bit of green because my fingers are dirty. So I'm just putting a little Winkostella. Not a whole lot. I'm just like kind of subtly sticking it on there. As I say that, and a big blob comes out. All right. Alrighty. So it's not as like I see it, but somebody else might be like, you know, they might not even notice it. All right. I have to do it to the inside as well. So a little bit of cloud cover. And a little bit of Winkostella. So just try not to brush your Winkostella up onto this because you will spread it out. Like the Winkostella will react to the ink pad. All right. So let's see here. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this on here. But I'm also going to add some bling to this one. Oops, hang on. I'm putting that on the wrong side. I need to trim this. I'm going to wash my hands real quick before I mess up anymore. Before I do. And part of it is, see this? I got ink on the pad. So then when I closed the pad, it got on my fingers. So just be careful when you're inking your pad up. So see, I have it on my old olive too. I guess I'm just a little bit overzealous when I put my refill in, that I get it all over. All right, let's hope that my fingers are clean. All right, so let's go back to putting this on here. Like when I do Christmas cards, well, a lot of times when I do Christmas cards, I will pull from ones that I've done on my videos or whatever. But if I sit and make Christmas cards, like a whole bunch of the same ones over and over, I kind of do it in an assembly line where I'll, like if I were to make this one, I would get all my cardstock cut. Then I would stamp all of the hats. And then I would come back and I would do all the green hats. And then I would do all, you know, so usually I'm not as sloppy, so to speak, because there's time between, right? Like there's time between stamping all the black ones. You know, I'll go wash my hands, or, you know, maybe it's the next day. So I'm a little less prone to making a mess. But when I'm doing the videos, I'm trying to have you not be here like all day like you were Friday. Oh my gosh, Friday's video. I am so sorry. All right, so here we go. We're going to do the same thing. Now I am going to put some bling on this. So I'm going to do the same little glue dots. Now I do have a sanding eraser or something like that, but sometimes that just, you know, you're best just to leave it. You're best just to leave it and try to, you know, fix something. All right. And then on the inside, I love that little hat. Isn't this a cute hat? It is so darling. It's a great size. All right, and then I'll put these on with dimensionals. Of course, I grabbed the baby ones. I just have a little creamer dish or whatever you call it. I have all my different dimensionals in. All right, so I'm going to put this not on the center. I'm going to kind of put it down, you know, down further. And then with this one, I'm going to put the, we have these peppermint, I almost said peppermint patties. We have these peppermints, and you can still get these. But so we're just going to put them around. Now I might put one down here and kind of hide my little green mess there. So we're just going to kind of plop. You want to say hi, Eric? He says no. He just poked me on the arm and waved. So we're just going to kind of plop these around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm going to put right there. I'll put it right on the hat. And then it will hide that little green spot. All right. So, doesn't it look cute with the peppermints around? I think that just makes it look so stinking cute because Santa brought some candy. All right. So here is my take on the one that's in the catalog. And then here is my twist. So I love them both. If you're going to make a whole bunch, this one would definitely be easier. You wouldn't have to put the peppermints, you know, if you didn't want. But they're very light and they sit pretty flat. So I don't think they would affect the postage, you know, that you have to pay. And you wouldn't have to pop this up if you're wanting to keep things, you know, not too bulky or whatever. But these are really, really cute. So, you know, let me know what you think. Now you could even, you know, this is, you know, how Stampin' Up did, but you could add some gel pen also, you know, to this one as well. But I mean, I won't because they didn't, but I just, you know, that would be cute. All right. So let me say, see you later, alligator. Oh, look how cute these little guys are sitting back here. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do with those. But so yeah, so I love how these turned out. So I will put these with, I have like a stash. I have a box and it just says Christmas cards. So anything on Christmas cards goes in that box. And then I use them for, you know, our Christmas cards. Or I also start sending them as like thank you cards. Little like maybe November or something like that. So people can use them if I don't need them all. You know, the older I get, the less Christmas cards I send. Isn't that bad? But you know, that's what happens when we get older, right? So yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow for my Teach Me Tuesdays, and that'll be 3 o'clock Arizona time, same channel. And remember, I'm gonna do that Halloween hat. So it might be like a longer video, hopefully not as long as Fridays. But so that hat has just been sitting over. I'll have to pop a picture in here. Real quick, I have just put all kind of like Halloween stuff on the center of my table. That's not where it's staying in my studio. I just kind of put it in there. So my witchy pumpkin is still wearing that hat. And she's just adorable. So anyways, all right, so I'm gonna stop blabbing. I will see you tomorrow. So have a great night. All right, bye for now.